732E has been going on for a bit by now, and while the gameplay is mostly similar to before, a few new faces are starting to spring out. This video is going to take a look at the pro player Xcalibur and his way of playing Storm Spirit in a high level pub, since his presence in pubs have become a lot more apparent as of late. Alright, so we are going to have Xcalibur here on mid, of course, at Storm. As promised, he is going to be laning against a Puck, which is not exactly an easy matchup. It's not an uncommon one, Puck being what she is. So what we're initially going to see here is that he's going to plant a ward. And obviously, he wants vision on mid, that makes sense, but he also knows he's up against the Zeus. So what he's going to do here is that he's going to stand here, he's going to be a little bit threatening, and he wants to see if Zeus is nearby. So he does scout Zeus here, and he sees actually 3 heroes on mid. And yeah, obviously the initial idea is that he wants to, he knows like he probably can't keep the ward if, you know, if they bring Zeus up and they kill the ward. So he's kind of like hoping that if they attempt to do that, then he's there to deny it as well, waste their time a bit. And he's therefore waiting instead of just going up and blocking. Now what we're going to see is that Xcalibur is going to go back here and he's going to start blocking. And that's a bit unfortunate as well, because what happens is that the enemy will respond to that because they will go up to the ward now. So it's a bit of like a Mexican standoff, and you can see he's coming back here. He's like, ah, shit, I knew it. But he heads back to block. So a bit unfortunate. It kind of sucks a bit, but you know, that's some of the leverage, you know, you get for having Zeus in your team, isn't it? Also, his tiny feeding first blood, not too nice. So he's gonna get a little bit of a block off, and it is going to be this Puck matchup. Now, we're gonna mostly just see this through normally. It's a pretty standard mid thing, and the main thing I want to mention here is that Xcalibur is actually really, really good at the fundamental aspects of playing mid. So what we're going to see is that he is going to go for a, I don't want to say untraditional because it's not like it's too weird, but he's basically going to go QEE. He's going to go 102. He's going to put 2 in overload. And the reason for that is that he really doesn't have a way of killing Puck. So he is going to try to increase the damage he does to creeps. So he can better last hit and he can better harass Puck. So he's basically starting to form this like integral kind of like very good fundamental mid where he just denies and last hits, which is very, very powerful. A lot of people seem to think it's just like in order to win mid, you just have to kill the opponent. It's like, no, you can literally out deny and out, you know, last hit your opponent and you'll become a lot stronger. Even better is that if you deny really, really well, then your opponent won't really have anything. So again, pretty standard stuff. We're mostly going to see Xcalibur having decent positioning and like really, really just good at last hitting. And again, he is, I am going to pause here to explain this. A thing you'll see Xcalibur do a lot, and a lot of high level pros, but especially Xcalibur will make use of it. It's also a common Storm strategy, is that as a ranged hero, you can go close to creeps. This is important because it lets you connect with the projectile faster. Remember that the difference between ranged and melee heroes is that melee heroes have an animation, and then as soon as it finishes, they strike the creep. Of course, ranged heroes also has an animation that has to finish, but then a projectile comes out, and that projectile also has a speed, and it has to connect with the target before the damage is applied. I think you'll see these higher level mid players do when they play heroes like Storm, Puck, Shadow Fiend, etc. Is that they'll go closer to creeps to diminish the time at which the projectile needs to connect to the creep, because it makes the last hit, or you know, the strike hitting for the creep, connect faster, which can make all the difference between whether or not you're going to get the last hit and the deny. So, you know, bite into that. It's really important, and you'll see him do that a lot. You can see like he will approach. Of course, the downside of doing that, especially on mid against 2 ranged heroes, is that you can get harassed. So there's a time you should do it, and there's a time you shouldn't, of course. So Rune is going to spawn here in just a moment. Standard fanfare. Both of them is going to go for it. You can see he tries to harass Puck. And again, like I said, the most notable thing here is that he does put a point in overload, which isn't weird, but some storms go 1-1-1 and some go Q once and then 2 in overload. He will do more harassing for that, really. But other than that, it's going to be a pretty standard mid. We're actually going to speed up a bit because not too much to mention. Again, you will notice his movement. He is a lot closer to creeps than Puck is on average, which affords him the luxury of last hitting. Indeed, if we go here, we can already see that he is 13-4 against Puck's 11-0, which does put him quite ahead. And again, you can see as he pushes lane, he also harasses Puck at the same time. So coming up here, we're going to see a bit of a cute punish, actually. So Puck is going to ping pong, as I call it. Like ping ponging is basically when you toss your lane into their tower. That tower harasses it with the hero, and then it ping pongs back. So she's going to ping pong it back into Excalibur's tower here. And we're going to see Puck try to play a bit of an aggressive movement here, because she wants to, you know, make something happen. So she orbs, hits him, hurts. And here she's going to apply the pressure and try to deny as much as she can and be annoying. But here's the cute part that we want to like bite into, is that he's going to last hit here. And he's then going to last hit here. And he's going to harass Puck, who clearly tried to be as obnoxious as she could, because he's going to pull her. And this really sucks, because Puck loses a lot of health for this. You got to be extremely careful when you play. And of course you want to, you know, out-deny your enemy, and you want to like make your mark on the lane. But man, you got to be careful, because your health pool and your mana pool are both resources, and expending that much health resource for pretty much no play whatsoever is one of the worst things that could have happened. He practically almost died there, as far as like how bad that was. Excalibur now knows he is much scarier than Puck, because Puck can't physically go, and it also forces Zeus to come in and help her. If he didn't do that, she would not even be able to like lane correctly. Now, what's going to happen here is that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on Excalibur. This is not exactly uncommon with these pro players. A lot of people just want to double up against them. So Zeus in particular is going to be very nasty with runes, which kind of sucks for Excalibur, of course. But again, mostly it's just roughly the same kind of laning here. Let's see, rune spawn here. Wants to go bot. Again, Zeus is top now though, so. But yeah, he's basically just focusing on the whole laning aspect. Again, if we look here, just pausing quickly, 24, really good, higher than, Troll Warlord, and 9 denies. 9 denies is freaking massive, and Puck is only 17-1, like, so the difference in the two of them is just absolutely massive. Like, there's no doubt that Excalibur, he might not have killed Puck, but he's killed Puck, you know what I mean? Like, he is winning mid so freaking hard right now, and it's the laning fundamentals he's showcasing. He's just better fundamentally than the Puck is in this game right now. And he also did that massive cute play right here where he just harassed her, and Zeus had to port mid as well. He's really just making the most out of like the base kit that the hero has. And a little bit of an aggressive play, but again, notice how he's doing the same thing Puck did here, but he isn't losing about 50% of his health doing so. Like most of that health he lost was literally just the orb connecting with him, and that was it. So, slow and steady. He is going to do a bit of a play here. He is going to get some last hits here, and we're going to speed up a little bit here. He's going to take these. And what we're going to see here is that he's going to do that, and he's going to go in after the enemy's rune. Now, this in of itself is a bit of a, I wouldn't say like it's too much of a gamble. It's something you'll see a lot of mid players do. And it kind of comes down to what kind of support player you're talking about, with, because some support players are very religious about picking these up, and some aren't. Some would prefer to just save them for their mid hero. You can see Dire has it here. So it depends a lot, but there is going to be a rune here. I mentioned the whole supporting aspect because I believe it was PPD that said that he personally prefers to pick them up very religiously at timings 2-4, you know, like when they spawn. Initially, sorry, not 2-4, like here. And the sad part here is that he comes to gank, right? And he's very close to level. He's literally 39 XP off, which is unfortunate because like he would have been able to like jump into troll here. You can see here. Again, it's 3 minutes. It's 3-6 rather. He takes a small camp. And now he is level 6, and he's going to remain down here. And we're going to see him playing very aggressively. He really wants to kill that troll. But troll is kind of hard to gank, so... Although he is going to go down here, but the problem here is that what's going to happen is that because they take such a long time doing it, we're going to see Beastmax Access finish him off right there. Very nice. Puck is going to come, and she comes with a haste no less, so that's really That's not very nice. And Xcalibur is going to be a bit of trouble here. Puck coming in. It hurts. You see, there's a coil. And there we go, and he dies. And that sucks because he actually had like a massive lead over Puck. And now Puck has the lead all of a sudden. Of course, she doesn't have nearly as many last hits as him, but XP-wise, she is now ahead. You got to be very careful with dying. Not that the idea was bad initially. It's just sad that literally if he had you know, level 6 before arriving, he would quite literally have killed Troll, and he would have gotten the rune to fill him up. So again, he's dead, and I'm gonna bite into this multiple times in this game because it's important. When he's dead, he doesn't just let go of the keyboard. I've seen plenty of replays. I've seen plenty of people do this where they're dead and they just say, whatever, tap out of the game, go watch Netflix or something for 30 seconds or whatever. He actively looks around on the map when he's dead because he's making plans and he's thinking, where do I want to port or where do I want to move after I'm dead? And this is very, very crucial. It's, I don't even want to say like it's super high level, but it's good. It just shows awareness that you're willing to like think on what to do next. A bit like a chess move. Like he just lost a rook. It's a bit much maybe. Nah, let's just say he lost a bishop. He lost a bishop and now he's thinking, okay, damn, that was not good. How can I make up for that? And his idea is to look top, and he wants to go up and kill one of these two here. And he's going to do just that. And he is going to find one as well. He is going to find Zeus. And Zeus is going to die. So easy kill for him. Very easy. So applying a bit of pressure. Applying a bit of pressure. Now he's going to go up here. And he is going to get that in just a moment. There's going to be a lot of this as well, where we just see Xcalibur kind of like walk around and just casually farm for a little bit, and we're going to talk about that as well, because there's a reason behind why he's doing that. I was about to say reason behind the madness. It's not a lot of madness, it's just farming. There's two of them, as you can see. Same thing, I was talking about this briefly, where some support players are very religious about picking it up on rune spawn. There's two of them here. And again, there's positives and negatives with doing this. Like, obviously, if you fetch them quickly, then your team gets a little bit of extra boost of gold. That's nice. You get a little bit of extra gold as well when you play support. The downside of it is that if you don't do it, enemy could take it, like either support or the mid hero, kind of like what Xcalibur did here. And if you take it as well, the downside could also be that your mid can't take it. So there's a bit of like of a gamble thing going. It really depends. I don't feel like there's a clear answer for should you do it or should you not do it. It really does depend on the game as well. Also, whether or not you have like if you're against a hero that's very predetermined to like move around a lot. Like if you have an X that's level 6, although he wouldn't be level 6 yet, but like if you have a hero that scurries around a lot relatively early, maybe he wants to gank or something, like a Hoodwink that has a bit of a determination of like going through here, she's obviously going to see this and pick this up if she's the enemy, right? So, but he makes use out of that through about pretty much the entire game. As you can see, we're just gonna fill slow and steady. He's going to kill Zeus here. And the important bit here, if we scroll back for a little bit, is he did time this with 10 seconds to spare. There's going to be a rune here. And again, it's obviously random. It's like a 50-50 coin flip. Does it spawn here? Does it spawn here? If it doesn't spawn here, he'll go and check this. The funny part is, like I said, Zeus is going to be up his cleavage, I was about to say. He's going to be up his ass, just trying to like make sure he can get runes on Xcalibur. But it's a level 3 Zeus against a level 6 Storm. That's never going to go well for you, and it doesn't help that there's a DD that spawns here. So I'm not sure quite what Zeus is thinking. Maybe he's hoping that there's going to be no Storm there. And the important part here is that not only does he actually kill Zeus, which is huge, he preserves Bottle with DD, which is good. One thing you have to take into account with these runes is that if the mid doesn't use them, like if you fight over rune and he doesn't use the rune to kill you, he now still has that rune, and a DD is very, very, very scary. So at any point in time, you now need to like basically know that you now have to play around a Storm that has a DD. And Xcalibur is going to make use out of that as well. If he senses any kind of opportunity to kill Puck here, he would take it with DD in an instant. That's not going to happen because Puck is annoying and it's pretty hard to do, but it's there all the same. And again, laning fundamentals. And we are going to speed up a little bit here. Slowly. Just a bit of laning. Nothing too special. We're gonna see him pan camera here a little bit. As we see, he is farming. And again, I have it on his player view right now. I swap between my own and this. And again, this is important as well, also why I stopped here. Notice how he is physically moving his camera there. He isn't just looking at the minimap. That not only makes it easier to see from perspective viewpoint what's going on, but it also determines that he is looking actively to see what kind of spells are being used. No doubt, like when you want to gank a storm, there's a big difference between whether or not you knowingly have to gank into a Dream Coil from Puck or not. If Puck has used Dream Coil, there's almost nothing that's really a threat right now. Same thing with Legion. We're also going to see that actually later into the game, where he's a lot more hesitant to go if Legion has duel. But the moment Legion has has dueled someone, you now have a brief time where, well, you're relatively safe because, like, she can't duel you, so she can't really kill you. As he does see, sadly, Drow die, and she's going to hang around here. Now, he obviously wanted to have a kill here. He finds a nice medium in that it's a stack camp, and while he might want to wait and, like, see if he can get a kill, he obviously is going to take this. And that makes sense. You want to, like, take as much of the enemy's farm as you can. This also counts for their jungle camps. And again, Puck doing that, she does have a ward here. So she probably figured he was up there. Let's see here. And now his DD activates. Now this is a bit sad because he basically wants some of that yummy damage on a tier 1 tower in just a moment. And that's going to kind of suck really hard for him because what's going to happen is that he's going to get punished for that. Let's see, they deny the rune there. And yeah, he doesn't really get to do a whole lot. He wanted to get the rune and then hopefully like do a little bit of damage to the tower, so that didn't happen. And again, being a bit hesitant, he really wanted to like get some damage in, but with Puck being there, gotta be careful. Also worth mentioning that Dream Coil does not have a very long cooldown. It's only 75 seconds. It's actually kind of wild. So when you play like this, it's important to keep a mental mind map over like whenever a spell like this is active, because this is what's gonna kill you right now if you are remotely out of position. So again, really wanted to make use out of it, but you know, just gotta be careful. He moves around a bit more, and again, we're gonna see this a lot where he just farms like this, which isn't uncommon, obviously. Just trying to get a little bit of farm to get like an extra item. He is gonna go for Witchblade, which is ever so common. He's gonna port bottom here, and he's almost gonna get a kill on Troll here, and this is really sad. This is just RNG at its finest. He's gonna port in on, or like jump in here on Troll, but of course he is going to miss because Whirling Axis, blind chance, which is kind of sad because what's going to happen is we're going to have a bit of a reverse situation going on. And that's really sad because that actually marks the second time he tries to go bot and kill Troll, and sadly Troll actually makes a bit of a mess there, having one ready. Second time he tries to go down and kill Troll, and second time it kind of fucks up on him. He this time it was literally because he barely had enough damage to really burst him down, which sucked. And Puck yet there again, so that's really, really, really sad. He definitely thought he had that one. So we're actually gonna see Xcalibur die quite a lot here in the beginning, which is rather surprising. But it happens, again, like I said early, what I often find happening whenever I do these kind of reads on pro players is that pup players have a tendency to really love trying to like get a hold of these pro players, and just it becomes like their target priority to mess with them almost. I definitely think there's something mental there. So he does see Zeus, again DD, jump for him, and again, like I said, from the start of the game, Zeus is very religious about stopping him. Now he does pop DD here, so it's not as good as last time, which is kind of sad, where he just got to keep it. He is obviously going to kill Storm here, there's no way he's going to survive. And now, this time, he clearly wants, now that he has popped it, he wants to get the most of it. Again, I think I say this in every one of the reads I do of these kind of videos. Tier 1 mid tower is the most important tower in the game. It is really, really important. It acts as easy Roche. It's just a waypoint to help your team. It's a waypoint to farm. It's just an extremely important tower to have. So the faster you can get it down, the better. So obviously if you have a DD and you can sneak it, or like, you know, do a severe amount of damage, that's good. Now the sad part here is he's going to get coiled. And there's a Legion with a Blade Mail. So that's gonna especially kill him because he is DD'd. So that's really, really sad. Because the idea was there. It made sense, really, to do that. So we're gonna see here. He is gonna be dead. And again, worth noting, as he is dead, Xcalibur, he pans his camera. Now, it's worth also mentioning in this game, although we're obviously gonna focus on Storm here, Drow is playing really, really good. She's very, very active, and he plays equally active around her. So he sees she's pushing, and he does want to help her. Let's see Rubik here. Slow and steady. You can see they are gonna go in. And this is really good for them. And it's very, very aggressive, but luckily Disruptor comes and they are gonna trade pretty much 3 kills here. They're all gonna die. Although it is Drow mostly doing the heavy load. So that's really, really good. That basically made up for how far behind he really was initially. So what's important here is if we look at Xcalibur, again going up for the rune, is that we can see over here he's now 76-12 to Puck's 54-3. So even with Puck having had these initial really, really good kills on him, he's still really, really far ahead in kills. Again, we see him panning around with the camera, making plans a lot, as he is basically farming, just looking for opportunities. We're gonna speed up here because a lot of this is gonna happen. And again, this isn't like it's bad or anything, it's just very common as you're playing the game on these heroes, is that when you have an ability to jump in and kill, you're searching for it, but you don't necessarily want to like actively be the one causing it. Like you just want to try and see if there's somewhere, like, you know, for example, if they smoke on top of Beastmaster, you could then port here and then you could zip in, or if they attempt to go on your mid tower, you then have the opportunity to go in. And as that's not an opportunity, you need to do something, which is farming, because that makes you stronger. So we're gonna see that pretty much for like the next few minutes. We just get to watch him farm. Again, nothing weird about it. Again, mentioning it, he does pan his camera around a lot because you don't need to, really need to be steel focused as you're farming, because like you need to be aware of what's happening around on the map. So we are going to see him pan his camera here and there to find out what's happening. Now he's going to have Kaya here, which is really, really massive. Very, very standard items. Switchblade into Kaya, into Sanj. Usually BKB then, and Axe. Now Troll does get Aegis, which isn't uncommon. Troll pretty much is just as free a Roshan hero as Ursa is. So kind of sad. Now important here, and I believe it was a video I did with Crit where I talked about preserving TPs. See how he didn't immediately just TP here or here or here. A lot of players, whenever they're in base, will have a natural inclination to immediately TP out and then farm or just push a lane and then die or something. The problem is when you then respawn, you can't TP for one thing. Another part here is that remember that Storm is a hero that thrives around killing and just being a nuisance, because he can just go anywhere at any point in time almost, because it's Storm, we all know how he functions, yeah? You want to have that opportunity laying around. Again, if Drow gets gone on here, you want to be able to port here. You don't want to have to walk and then blink. Ball of lightning. It is why he holds on to these TP scrolls, and we're going to see that for pretty much the rest of the game. And again, it's very important to port around and also, you know, be efficient, but there's times where you should do that, and there's times where you shouldn't be doing that. And I guess what I'm saying here is Xcalibur, obviously, given how good he is at the game, is making the judgment call not to just randomly TP, just to be a little bit faster on his feet, because he would prefer the opportunity. So we do have a smoke. We do have a smoke here. And they are going to connect here. And obviously the intention is that they want to kill Legion, which isn't going to happen. And the sad part here is if we actually kind of rewind a little bit, because I didn't really cover it. Oh, the replay being a bit funny. Is actually really, really sad, because Zeus actually does an ult right before they connect, which is really, really, really sad. It's very, very hard to see because Xcalibur moved right at the same time. Right there. Really, really, really sad. It completely reveals where all of them are. And Xcalibur does jump towards Legion at the same time, and Disruptor almost immediately dies. So this is kind of scary. And again, notice how the first thing Xcalibur did after grabbing Legion here with Electric Vortex is that he went this way to hide, because he does know, like, if one thing kills him in this fight, it is literally Legion dueling him like this. Now, the important aspect is, as much as it's not nice to like let Tiny die, he now knows that Legion has dueled him, which means he cannot be dueled. So that makes him a lot safer. There's absolutely no doubt that if Legion hadn't done that, he would have been a lot more hesitant to go back into this fight, because he would have to play around it. So he goes back immediately, now knowing that Legion is not a threat to him anymore, and that lets him kill Zeus. And you could say, well, that was a lot of things going on really quickly. He could never have made that calculations. Well, of course he could. That's what makes a player really, really good, is being able to like think out these things really, really quickly and make a judgment call based on that. It's like this hesitation, like really bad hesitation from players that kind of usually makes things go badly, really. It's because people take just a few seconds too long to decide on things. Important thing here, as all of this is happening, and this is what it all comes back, that's why I'm pausing. Troll tries to make the most of this team fight, which isn't uncommon as a carry, that you want to like do something as a fight breaks out and you're not there. So he tries to take mid. Problem is, Drow is there. And remember when I said that initially it was very smart that Xcalibur didn't just respawn and then port here and then do the whole smoke play? Well, it just so happens he now has, town portal score ready. And where does he go? He goes mid with that, which is going to kill Troll, not once, but twice, which is kind of important because he has an Aegis. So yes, he gets mid, which is good, but it's not good that he dies twice for free because of that. And again, there's no way that would have worked with just Drow. There's no way that would have worked. And all of that is a consequence of him saving his TP. Now, it's easy for me to like sit and watch this replay and give a reading on it and say, oh, well, I might be making a point out of that because it happened that way. It's like, no, it's more like, it's obvious that that's why he's saving the TP. It's a very important thing to do on these heroes. When you have heroes that can just port somewhere and then be an immediate threat, like Void Spirit, for example, as well, is very similar to his brother Storm in this aspect, that you would save your TP. So you're ready to make plays like this. You've got to be aware of what you can do really here. Again, more farming. He is with his team. And he's going to sip on Zeus. Again, Zeus is very out of position in this game a lot. Between going for runes and just randomly going uphill, he really is feeding a lot of kills to Xcalibur, which is kind of interesting. And again, he has a tendency to also hang around his team, which is smart. He does go up here for check for rune. And he's going to find a haste, which is important. Again, another thing you'll see lower mid players also not do a whole lot. They don't care much about runes. We'll see that Excalibur pretty religiously goes for them, which makes sense. They're powerful. Haste, insane. Illusion rune lets him dodge. And DD is just, it's double damage. Who doesn't like that? So there's a Legion here. And again, he is now hanging around his team a lot, which isn't a bad thing to do at all. He's ready to TP just in case. But notice how he keeps himself close, but in a jumpable range. So he's not revealing, at least yet, that he's there, but he is both signifying to his team and being in a range where he can help them immediately if something happens. Like, for example, if Legion, although they can see him, of course, but like if Legion or if Puck randomly decided to jump, boom, boom, then he would be there without Puck knowing that. And it's that not knowing part that might discourage Puck from even doing this play in the first place. He's going to reveal himself now. A lot of mind games. And again, it is easy as an observer to be like, they're not thinking about this kind of stuff. They are. Absolutely. Dota is a game of minds, for sure. 100%. A lot of mind games going on, especially at a high level. So they do get tier 2, which is great, because now they can take Outpost, which is also huge. Team smokes. Stays on Storm. Nothing wrong with that. He does have haste, so if they were caught here, he could really, really quickly get up to them. You also notice as he's farming, he could technically farm faster if he was using Ball of Lightning, but he will a lot of the time not do that because, again, like I said, he is clearly taking Outpost. He's clearly doing these calculations of what if my team does get jumped. He wants to have enough power. Like, it's all fine and good that he has this whole TP thing ready to help his team, but if he doesn't have the mana to help them, then it's kind of pointless, right? Like, then he ports to somewhere and then he has absolutely no mana, and that won't help. So a fight does break out here. And when I initially saw this reading, I wasn't sure if he bucked out and canceled intentionally, but he's going to cancel this TP here. And I think his idea is like, oh, my team got that. I don't really need to help them. So he decides to stay instead. And his team does kill LC. And the beautiful part is, yet again, he will find a Zeus that is trying to counter ward. Even though Zeus literally saw Storm up here with his ult, he will then die for it. Again, like I keep saying, I don't know what it is with Zeus, but he really, man, he is a lot out of position for that. He's going to find an illusion room top. And he does have Kaya Sanj now, of course, as well, which makes him a lot tankier. Puck warp. So again, we're going to then go back to pretty much mostly casual farming for the most part, really. And that's pretty much going to be like the remainder of the game. Technically, it's not really too exciting, but it is a very important way to play. He's basically doing this constant, I don't want to say back and forth, but like this rotation of farming creeps, clearly buying clarity to keep his mana high, and just, you know, progress towards items while also getting stronger, while also being ready to help his team. Now, one thing that's worth really mentioning here is, and this is kind of a scary situation I find myself in a lot as well when I play, as you can see Panic's camera up here. Of all the places his team could be right now, they're all the way up here, right? Now, that isn't necessarily bad. They're creating space and fighting. It's actually the mid player that isn't part of that. The bad part, or like the scary part, I should say, it's not bad again, is that he can't physically come here because it's too far away. If he ports here, it's first and foremost, it takes a while. He doesn't have the mana for sipping all the way, and he can't port here either. So if a fight does break out here and goes badly, it really sucks as a Storm here because there's no way he can help them. So they have to really watch out. And what will happen in lower end games a lot is it can be really bad to just randomly go as 5 at all times, depending on your lineup. And like, you know, Dota is a broad game. So when this thing happens, you have to be very careful because it's not unreasonable to think that the enemy is going to go in as 5 against you. So you're fighting 4v5 without having a Storm with you, which is arguably either the strongest or second strongest, depending on whether or not you look at Drow or Storm here. So not having that in a 4v5 is very, very scary, so you just gotta watch out. So he's gonna make the most out of it. And again, here we see his camera, he is checking top. And I would imagine, again, I can't read minds, but Xcalibur has kind of like consigned himself to the fact that if my team dies, then so be it. There's really nothing he can do about it. They're simply too far away. They only lose Beastmaster, so it's not too bad. But here we see him, like, again, farming and making the most out of the situation because he can't physically show up for a fight here. If he could, and he had all his mana, they could easily turn that around, but he can't. So he just farms instead and creates pressure, which is the best thing he could do. And he is going for BKB, which makes sense. He would prefer not to die. And he definitely would prefer to get it before he fights again, because at that point, the scariest part would either be a troll, but mostly just LC. But if you can deny this puck being useful against him, that is really, really, really good. So, and worth noting as well here is that he is farming very aggressively. I'm gonna briefly pause and talk about that. So what you'll see in low level pops a lot is the mid and the safe lane hero will be competing for farm, and sometimes you'll even have a good time and the 3 will also compete for farm, or even the 4 hero if they're feeling luxurious. And what will end up happening is that there's simply not enough farm on the map for that. Like, there just isn't. Considering how fast a Storm can farm and how fast a Drow can farm, these heroes will inevitably collide into one another, and that's inefficient. Now, what Xcalibur is doing is that he's farming the enemy side of the map. That's doing a bunch of things. I was about to say 2 things. It's doing a bunch of things. 1, he's taking farm away from the enemy because it's the enemy's jungle. So the enemy can't farm that now, which is good. 2, he's getting stronger. 3, he's creating space for Drow because Drow can now farm safely. Drow isn't the one going out on a limb and farming in a scared capacity. That's Xcalibur doing that. So in a very roundabout way, he's basically creating space for Drow and allowing her to take all the safe farm without intruding on her space, meaning that both of them are getting stronger without treading over one another. And that's huge because it's basically 2 core heroes efficiently generating income without, you know, impeding one another, which is massive. Again, he does port top since Drow isn't here. And I really, if you do play core, I want you to really think about this when you play core, please. It's such an important thing that he isn't going out of his way to farm close to Drow. It's such a bad thing that happens in a lot of games, and people do it not because like they're angry necessarily. I mean, some people do, but it's because like they just, you know, they click off their brains, just farm, farm, farm. I gotta get stronger. And then, oh, Drow's here. Oh, that's too bad. I'm gonna take this camp. And now you are impeding on each other's farm. So when you are farming, please try and be observant and just make the most out of your location and try to farm away from one another where you can. It's better for you and your team. And you get more gold. When you really see a team getting ahead in the gold lead, that is really a lot of why usually is because you are farming very efficiently by 2 people. Again, farming. Farming. I'm gonna speed up even further because there's gonna be more of this. And obviously he does want to finish his BKB. That's why he's doing this so much. You can see the game isn't too much longer either. So he's gonna go back. And this time we are gonna see him TP out. And so this is his intention. Again, it's because he wants to port out efficiently. Like I said, there's times where you should do this and there's times where you shouldn't. He wants to port out, he wants to farm, finish up his BKB, and then he wants to walk with his team. That's why he's doing that. He doesn't need the TP now. Heck, he didn't even buy additional TP here because he just wants BKB real fast. He's gonna finish it. And here it comes with the courier. And again, like I said, this shows that I'm also not wrong in what I'm saying. He's not just I'm not just like pulling shit out of a bag here. It's like he is thinking about this kind of stuff. Immediately as he took this, we saw his courier being on the move, and he immediately connected with his team. All of this is like mapped out, like a build, basically. He was clearly thinking about this. Now, another thing that's going to happen here, again, although we are about 25 minutes into the game, we're going to see Xcalibur farm creeps close to where his team is. Which is, I just got done mentioning that you need to be careful not taking farm from your carry or like being multiple cores that farm from one another. But in this case, what he's doing is, as they're pushing a lane or trying to push a tower, he is keeping up his momentum and still getting stronger while being in a jumping range of where his team is, which is important because that means if there is a sudden engagement, he's able to help. He's not just randomly farming up here. If he was, the enemy would be a lot more inclined now to jump them, and well, he wouldn't be able to help because he doesn't have a TP. So this completely discourages the enemy. Do all the smoke. There's the BKB. And we're gonna see the Radiant here. Now they are gonna spot Puck here. And there's going to be a bit of a scuffle here in a few seconds. And again, like I said, he is keeping himself within range. He could be farming here, he could be farming here, farming anywhere. He is with his team. This entire thing was mapped out. His intention was very much to fight as soon as he got his BKB. Now Disruptor to scout Puck, and again, you can see he jumps in first. And Legion comes in. And again, Legion is the scariest hero for him now. It's not Puck anymore, it's Legion. There's one hero that defeats his BKB, it's Legion. So whenever Legion dies or Legion jumps and duels someone other than him, or Legion does a questionable jump like this, Hail Mary from here, easy mode. Now he can do whatever he wants, which is massive. So they're going to check for Roche, obviously, because it makes sense to go for it now, if they could, but it isn't up. Bird. They're going to see he's going to attempt to get a Troll here, but Troll is out. And this is important because Troll used BKB, and that's going to come back to bite him in just a moment. We'll get to that in about 60 seconds from now, don't worry. Now they are going to keep checking for Roche, which makes sense, because if there's one thing you want now, it's Roche. And we're going to see Xcalibur doing much the same thing here again here, where he just is farming, as nothing is really happening right now. Just waiting for Roche to really respawn. And as you can see, they're slowly crawling ahead further in the gold value, because they're all farming and they're getting a few kills. Waiting for Roche. Again. Let's see here.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Just slowly and steadily. Gets River Rune, which is nice. Again, trying to get his mana back up again so he can basically be ready for a fight. Should it be necessary. I see Legion is even attempting to jump in to see if he can grab someone. And Sue's even ulting to find out where they are. So Puck jumps in here, which is kind of questionable. And again, this is also what I keep saying. He is in jumping range of his team still. He's not randomly here split pushing, like you'll see some pop players do. He's not randomly split pushing here. He is right now in jumping range, and he wants to play around his team. He goes in, helps there. Troll kind of like questionably running in, which is kind of bad because he doesn't have BKB. So like I said, it would come back to bite him. Even as he's dead, he still has BKB off of cooldown. So even if he ulted, that was going to be very, very questionable because he was just going to get counter-ulted by Beastmasters if he did. So very, very questionable decision by Pug, and then equally questionable decision by Troll. And you can see already here the damage, the mental damage as you call it, is there. It's really, really bad. Keeps going. Finds Zeus. And yeah, this game isn't really bombastic. It's not like it's like, wow, look how Xcalibur is redefining Storm this meta. It's just, Storm is fundamentally, we're going to skip ahead of that because that's just a longer pause. Storm is just actually a fundamentally good hero, and his win rate has increased a lot, so I wanted to make a read on it. And you can see why. He's doing a lot, and he's scary. Storm has, unless he is in a really, really bad spot, kind of like just meta-wise, Storm is almost pretty much always a good pub hero. He's just scary to play against. It's just one of those heroes where it's like, a lot of people hate playing against Storm. It's a bit like a Tinker, you know, or Brood. He just has that, you know, it's how he carries it, right? Now his team is gonna get Roche for free. He's gonna port bot because he wants to win that lane. And pretty much at this stage, he also gets, you know, shard for free, which is a good thing. That's 1400. He ports bot to mend that lane. This game is, I don't want to just say it's over. It's pretty much over because the enemy is clearly tilted as hell, right? But, you know, it's pretty much in the bag. We're going to see Xcalibur farm a little bit more. He wants level 20 at the very least. Also, preferably Axe if you get it. But they also have an Aegis timing. We're saying a lot of people are under the impression that as soon as you've taken Roche, you now have Aegis and you should immediately make use out of it. You have to remember that Aegis is on for quite a bit of time, you know. You don't have to immediately go and use Aegis. What Aegis dropping does is that it affords you the luxury of now having a second life. And for, you know, the minutes following after getting Aegis, you can kind of be very aggressive because the enemy usually doesn't want to fight into you. Even if they could smoke on you, it's kind of a risky gambit. So for the minutes after, you can farm, you can take towers. You don't have to actively just slam yourself into them. And these guys know that. Although they are obviously pushing the Aegis advantage, as you can see. So Tiny to attempt something here. We're gonna go down. You see they're very scared. And again, Troll goes in here, which is very, very questionable. Xcalibur is gonna keep his distance initially. Wants to wait to see if someone jumps. He's gonna jump her. And Legion wants to, again, you can see she tried to grab him there, but didn't get him. So that's a free kill on Puck. And that's the beautiful sound you want to hear when you play Storm, is Legion dueling someone that isn't Storm. And he's dueling an Aegis target. So even if he somehow kills Drow, whatever, she respawns. And now she can't kill Xcalibur, which is really, really, really bad. Let's see, Troll. Dead. Legion. Not having a good time. And Drow is back. Let's see here. So while they don't die, that still was far from good. And now he has Aghanims. And Aghanims is very common in Storm because, you know, it's an AoE engagement. It's a very, very powerful tool that can completely change games. I'd actually say Aghanims is probably the #1 item that allows Storm to kind of like make those insane comebacks into games, actually. It's pretty, it's actually pretty crazy. Kind of like Magnus style, you know how like Magnus, a good Magnus RP or something similar, like, you know, his horn toss into a skewer can completely change the outcome of a game. Yeah, Axe on Storm is not unlike that, really. So, game goes on for a little bit further. Say spot Legion. He is going to get a bot Arcane Rune. And again, like I said, you're going to see him throughout this entire game. He's just doing this. As soon as there's a rune spawn, he will go check for it. He's very, very particular about it, and it's on a cane rune. It's massive for Storm to get that. Again, questionable ult by Troll, because again, he used BKB and his ultimate to get a position 5 support, which is very rough. That means that he's pretty much no longer a threat to anyone on Dire side. Now that could be the tilt, I don't know. You have to ask Troll about that. Dust jump, gets Zeus. Again, very aggressive, but he has some momentum. He already knows that the only scary thing is Legion, and Legion just try to get him. But as you can see, Legion is trying to religiously get a hold of him. He is just making sure that Legion can't. So he's just playing with them. And again, as long as Legion can't ult him, he's not remotely in danger. And Troll isn't a danger either because, I mean, he used his entire load on a position 5 support. And I like to call this little thing threat assessment. Also gonna get puck, of course. Threat assessment. It's like, before you engage in a fight, you need to know what the threat is you need to be aware of. And if you know that there's almost nothing that kills you, and you know how to play around what little can kill you, then you can very, very actively and very intelligently enter a team fight and win it. And as you can see, the game is pretty much over from that. Enemy has tilted, and they're pretty much giving up. Now Legion is going to do a last desperate attempt, although obviously it's not really going to go anywhere because it's over. So Xcalibur is going to end out with a score that's going to be 13-3, I think it's 12, because he's going to get an additional little one on Legion. But a pretty good game by him. And again, nothing bombastic, just pretty good fundamentals. And honestly, if there's something you want to like learn by and get better at, I can highly recommend something like that. There we go, Troll, Legion. And Legion does die. Puck does die, never mind. There's 3 people dying, not just 1. There you go. But the game was practically over. And there you have it. Just like that. And I was a score called 13-3-14. So yeah, like I said, not a very bombastic game by Xcalibur at all. Just very, very good fundamentals. Clearly knew what he did. And I feel like that's, when I do these readings, that's kind of what you should be looking for, of like things you want to emulate. Yeah, you want to like do these sick ass kills and like, you know, be flashy, but these fundamental parts of playing the game are so important, and just taking the average game a pro plays and emulating what they do is a very, very good idea. Again, not trying to emulate those flashy plays, but farm patterns and decision making and stuff like that, like keeping his TP off cooldown for helping his team, farming a short distance away from them, clearly playing around Legion, whether she ults or not, stuff like that. You just gotta like find out try and put yourself in their shoes as they're playing. What are they thinking? What are they going through? And if you do that, and you apply that with Storm Spirit, you could earn a lot of MMR because Storm is really, really good. So let's head into the post-game review where I go over a few things that I think are particularly good, or rather well done, by Xcalibur in this game. A very firm and solid game from Xcalibur. Let's briefly mention a few key points of his game plan. Knowing that Puck was a hard matchup for him, Xcalibur opts for both a playstyle and an initial skill build that allows him to better handle the lane, and focuses on the fundamental aspects of winning the lane as opposed to outright killing Puck. This makes him completely dominate the initial last hitting and denying phase of the game too. For large portions of the game, provided his team wasn't pushing an objective very far away from a teleport location, Xcalibur kept a hold of a TP so he could port and assist, or was farming creep camps relatively close to his team, precisely because he'd then be able to assist by flying in and providing help. Whether dead or alive, Excalibur's camera movements pan around on the map to where his allies are pushing, and where enemies are currently at. There is no doubt that he's actively making plans for whether he should TP out for a kill, or if it's better to walk somewhere to farm. This lets him preserve resources and do things more efficiently. Thank you for watching the video. As always, if you like what you saw, I'd much appreciate a follow here on YouTube, and you can watch me live at twitch.tv/fabkyobashi. Until next time.